So, does anyone care to touch on this further?
My name is Jerry. I left MAGA, and I'm here to spill all the tea. I was going to, I started setting up this video with the idea of addressing this Christopher Poole thing in reference to Epstein. And I was just going to show a few things, but like everything in my head, it's all a chain of events. And so, as part of this expose, I'm going to also be doing a bit of a confessional, because I actually ran across an article while pulling up some examples of materials that I used to use that I had used before when I was a MAGA streamer. And we'll get to how my personal experience connected to that piece of propaganda actually ended up playing out, and where all that's going. But first off, I want to play just a moment or so of this particular video from the Logical Leftist. All the links will be down below. But yeah, when I heard him talking about this, I was like, oh me, oh my, I've got insights that I need to address. So let's go with this.
According to reports from The Spectator, 4chan founder Christopher Poole, known online as Moot, met with Jeffrey Epstein in October of 2011. But it gets more specific. An email exchange reveals Epstein liked Memat, his misspelling of Moot, I guess, and explicitly stated that he, quote, unquote, drove him home. Now, tech founders meeting with wealthy financiers isn't exactly news. That happens every day in Silicon Valley. But here's the sociological kicker. On the very day of his first known audience with Epstein, Poole made the executive decision to relaunch the Poole board.
So that's where we're jumping in. All right, so what I've got here is just Moot's words out of his mouth. That there's something that he says along the way that just really caught my attention. So I pulled up a quick little annotation about it just for a point of reference before moving on further. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into this.
And where do you live these days?
New York.
New York? You said you're in school there?
Yes.
Where are you going to school?
I don't actually tell people that. My name is Christopher Poole. I go by Moot on the internet, and 4chan is an anonymous image board, and it's divided into 48 different topics, ranging from anime, video games, photography. There is a lot of adult content on the site as well, and the site's gotten kind of notorious over the years for being a hotbed of memes and viral kind of activity. So I started the site when I was 15, and at that point, the content that was on the site initially had there was pornography. It wasn't appropriate, so it wasn't something that I could share with my friends. It wasn't something that I could share with my family or my educators. And so very early on, I had to establish two identities. So I was like 19 or 20 before I started kind of coming out of my shell, so to speak. But I think that was really important early on, just to kind of protect myself. I'm a kind of private person. So the site that 4chan is based on is this Japanese image board. And in turn, the site that's based on is a Japanese text BBS. And they really pioneered this concept of anonymous posting. The conversation is raw, it's unfiltered, so you're getting like very truthful conversation. You judge somebody by the content of what they're saying and not their username, not their registration date. With identity, the discussion is mostly revolving around who is saying what and not what they're saying. So the exploits that the site kind of carries out, most of them are harmless, but there have been times where it crosses over from the online to the real life, kind of for the worse. At one point, kind of invasions became popular, so people would link to MySpaces and they'd get flooded with comments, and so that's something it's regrettable that it happens, but when you do have that open community with a kind of very lax rule set, it's what you get. At this point, I really do stand behind anonymous communities. I use the term dinosaurs. Maybe that wasn't the best term, but I think they are certainly endangered because now we've just moved more and more towards persistent user identity. You've got a Twitter, you've got a Facebook. I guess you used to have a MySpace. People are putting just loads of information about themselves in these places, and we're becoming very comfortable with sharing very intimate details about our life. Like if somebody called you up on the phone and asked you all of these things, you'd say hell no and hang up. But now we're flooding the internet with information about ourselves, and I think that's scary. And there's some comments that Eric Schmidt and Mark Zuckerberg made in the past few months just about kind of if we were to start now, we wouldn't have put such an emphasis on privacy, and that terrifies me.
Put a pin in that. All right, so what I pointed out there is that Japan has cracked down on cults. Now you'll see that this article is dated December 30th, 1999. And this was in response to the Shinrikyo cult doing their little thing down there in the subway. If you don't know about it, I suggest you go check it out. Or I can do a video about it way later because they're really not part of my storyline other than they're just one of those groups that shows how charismatic leaders can, it says right here, officials worry that the cultural lure of groups and their charismatic leaders may lead to an increase in dangerous and illegal activities. Anyway, 4chan creator Moot steps down after more than a decade. So he's stepping down from 4chan. 11 and a half years ago when he was 15, a 15-year-old kid, he founded this place. But where did he go? You can, if you want to read the full article, links down below, because there's some other stuff that I'm actually wanting to get to. But where did Moot go? Because this is what plays into what's going on later. Oh, and by the way, 4chan is where Kekistan came from, Pepe the Frog and all that. I've got a video at some point lined up in the future. It's on the list, but I haven't even started on it yet. So here we go from The Guardian. Dateline on this article is Tuesday, the 8th of March, 2016. Right after Trump got elected, right? Or after he got sworn in. No. Campaign was in 2016. Anyway, Chris Poole founded the controversial online community 4chan when he was 15, and many speculate he's going to help Google tackle social media. Now, I do want to go back and point out something here. On this video where Moot was speaking, this particular clip was posted in 2010. It was, I think it was in 2012, when the FBI raided and infiltrated Anonymous. I'll do a story on that some other time, or you can look it up yourself. But yeah, this has been a crazy turn of events. So then, yeah, Chris Poole did go over to work for Google, and he did go to work for Zuckerberg. I'm getting there. Who else works on the board? Who else is connected to Facebook? Our good old buddy and favorite person to dislike, I guess we can say. I have a special disdain for this individual. But Peter Thiel to step down from board of Facebook parent Meta. Now, from what I understood, in 2021, he had stepped down from the board of Facebook. And Peter Thiel is the first and like the second largest investor in Facebook. But you'll notice here it says February 7th, 2022. And then in my next article over, I've got the same headline, but it's December 10th, 2024. Now, these are just data points. All the links will be down below, but Facebook parent Meta has said that the controversial billionaire investor, Peter Thiel, an early investor who has been on the company's board since 2005, has decided to retire. Yeah, right? Peter Thiel's been running around lately doing a whole lot of those Antichrist things, right? Speeches and stuff. I do have a profile lined up to do on him. But here's what gets interesting. This is where it all got wild for me, because I started remembering using articles from Gateway Pundit about Maricopa County and the Zuckerbucks. Was it the CTCL? I forget exactly what it stood for. I think I have that up on another one of the articles, maybe. But anyway, Center of Technology and Civil Living. Yeah, CTCL, Center for Technology and Civil Living. And this is wild how this plays out, because yes, I remember railing on the Zuckerbucks because that was just the thing that we did in the cult. And this is in reference to the Maricopa County election thing. Now, somebody asked me if there was something about a headless time traveler. When MAGA Whisperer brought that up, that was new to me, because I never liked Sidney Powell. I did not like her voice. I found her irritating. That whole release the Kraken thing, she just didn't have the energy to pull that off. So I didn't like her. I will do a profile on her as well at some point, because she did end up getting disbarred. But anyway, on the next article, I remember this whole George's Raffensperger did it too. The Zuckerbucks. Now, just this past week, didn't the FBI do a raid in Fulton County? That's linked back to this story from 2021. I remember talking about this article. I remember reading out this article. I also remember reading out this next article. Now, this one actually has a really crazy twist to it. All right. Danger, St. Louis County Executive Sam Page connected to ballot harvesting specialists who are also operating in Wisconsin and Pennsylvania. And Center for Tech and Civic Life. I met up with some friends one night. I'll try to remember to include the link to the recorded message that I made. One of my friends, Yaya, she was reading out a statement on behalf of Metropolitan Congregations United. They're a local interfaith legislative action nonprofit. But she was reading out this statement about getting lead out of the water. And it was after the county council meeting. But during the county council meeting, this guy, the chairman the chair of the county board, was urging these other folks to pass this legislation to get a cop city built in next door. We're going to get to that here in a moment. But I'm sitting there and I'm looking at this guy and how he's dressed and how he's talking, and I'm like, there's no way this dude's a Democrat. There's just no way. And I had forgotten that he was linked back to that whole ballot harvesting nonsense. And in the end of this, I'm gonna confess to whose story I was utilizing, since I wasn't listening to Sidney Powell, right? But Dinesh D'Souza was one of them, and I thought it was hilarious because I was already out of MAGA when Dinesh D'Souza had to withdraw the 2,000 Mules, which is linked back to this particular article. Anyway, this is coming from the Missouri Independent. Grand jury indicts top Democrat in St. Louis County government on felony charges. County Executive Sam Page was indicted for allegedly using county funds for direct mail pieces that opposed a ballot measure reducing his power over the department heads. top elected official in Missouri's largest county, was indicted Wednesday on 4 counts of allegedly misusing public money to oppose passage of an April ballot measure. You can read the rest of the article if you want to. There's some dollar amounts you can see there on the screen. Page, Democrat, who has held this office since 2019, is charged with 2 misdemeanor election offenses and 2 felony counts of stealing more than $750 for redirecting public funds to the campaign effort. The charges carry a combined penalty of up to 13 years in jail and state prison if served consecutively after conviction, and or a fine of up to $24,000. Let's like I said, you can read on the more of the details. But St. Louis area leaders laud police training center is successful regional collaboration. By the way, this guy has announced he's not running for a 3rd term, and I'm glad to hear that because I'm going to be personally acquainted with one of the potential candidates. We'll get there. We'll get there later. But anyway, the leaders of some St. Louis areas, or some of the St. Louis area's largest counties, have signed an agreement to establish a multi-million-dollar police training facility, Cop City. And while some St. Louis County residents panned the training center as a misplaced priority, others contended that it was a rare example of collaboration between counties that often operate in their own silos. Point of reference, just a couple of miles down I-70 from here in St. Louis, a couple hours down the road on I-70 to our west, is a little city called Columbia, Missouri, and they have a Cop City going up there too. This is not a rare example. These are going up everywhere. Why? Because there's people that want a police state. We can see that right now, can't we? Anyway, so it's St. Louis, St. Charles, Franklin, and Jefferson counties will oversee the Regional Law Enforcement Training Center. So I was there the night that this ended up passing in St. Louis County, and it was wild. It was wild. But when it comes to the whole election fraud conspiracy theory that I was pushing, I was tracking cyber ninjas. I was under the impression that Jovan Hutton Pulitzer was some kind of hot stuff. Come to find out, no. Does anybody even know where he is anymore? Because Cyber Ninjas is no longer a thing. But yeah, that's my run from the Epstein Moot connection to who is Moot, to this 4chan connection, to Google, to Palantir, well, Peter Thiel, basically the same thing. Over through Zuckerbucks and some crazy conspiracy theories that, I mean, seriously, we thought this guy was a crook, and we were right. We were right. He was a crook. It's just because he had a D behind his name. We didn't discount. Anyway, it was crazy, man. We were all crazy. And the ones that are still in there, I'm trying to empathize with them, but it's frustrating. I love my dad. I miss my dad. I just can't talk to him. Anyway, so that's my information, my take on Moot, how I see how he impacted things, because I was Q adjacent. And if you go back and you listen to that entire video, there's reference to Q. And it's just kind of wild that the Anons and the Q folk and the Magtards that believe, MAGA folks that believe, yeah, I slipped up there. And the MAGA folks that believe in that whole global cabal of child abusers and all that stuff, that is true. I already knew that Trump was part of it by the time I was out. I was pretty well convinced. I was totally convinced shortly after, because once I left the cult, once I announced my separation, I allowed myself to go places that would have otherwise brought me undue retribution. And I still took a lot of punishment. I got a lot of death threats. I'm fairly sure there's a distinct possibility that, because of the fact that I've given MAGA indigestion for the last 3 years, at least the beast on pills, that that one of the folks over there that's particularly agitated by my work, I think that there's a possibility he might possibly, he's got plenty of motivation, I'm sure, or motive too, because of his spite. But I think there's a possibility I could be on one of those watch lists. So I'm calculating my future, calculating my moves. I'm doing some observer training. I'm a Cold War veteran. I used to run around London by myself when we were told not to. So I don't scare easy. I've been through some stuff. I've survived some things. We'll get into those later. But yeah, wild times. But that all triggered my brain right there when I saw that. It's like, I got to run down this rabbit hole. All right, I've been rambling long enough. Holy cow, the hillbilly just slipped out. I hope you all have a great rest of your day. I seriously doubt I'll get another video put out today, but I don't know yet. It's still early. I hope that you take care of yourself so that you can help take care of others, and get the rest that you need, and try to get plenty of fluids. I know that struggle can be real, all right?